All right, so these are the questions that we are going to try in today's video. If you have tried it already from the thumbnail, good enough. If you haven't, you can pause the video at this point and try it once before you look into the solutions. We recommend you doing that. But if you just want to enjoy the solution, that's also good enough. And go ahead and watch the solutions now. A pretty straightforward question in probability, but it is straightforward only when you understand the easiest way to look at the problem. So let me highlight the question or the thing that we have to actually figure out here. So first of all, we have to select two consecutive letters from the English alphabet. Now, in probability, this will determine the total outcomes. And we are looking for the probability that both of them are consonants. So both the selected letters, so the consecutive letters that we have picked up, they have to be consonants. Now, this is the favorable outcome. So this is what we are looking for. In this case, if you focus on the unfavorable outcomes, that will be simple to find. There's a very simple reason for that. You should be able to identify it yourself. There are a total of 21 consonants and 5 vowels, right? So the cases in which there will be a vowel will definitely be low in number, right? It should be easy enough to identify those cases. So just because there are less number of vowels, think in terms of the vowels, and we are considering consecutive letters, so that also comes into consideration. But first of all, the total outcome. So this will determine the denominator of the probability any which way. So the total outcomes could be anything from A, B, B, C, C, D up to Y, Z, right? So there are total of 25 cases. Just look at the first part, A to Y, something like this. So there are total of 25 consecutive cases, right? So that will determine the denominator. Now, as I said, I'll focus a little bit on the unfavorable outcome, or the one which we are not looking to find, the complementary events, something like that. So the unfavorable outcomes is we get a consonant vowel, a vowel consonant, these two only, because I hope you understand that vowel is not possible because we are selecting consecutive letters, and the vowels that we have, A, E, I, O, and U, none of these are actually consecutive any which way. So we cannot select two vowels when we are selecting consecutive letters. So only these two types are possible, either a consonant followed by a vowel or a vowel followed by a consonant, which will be unfavorable in nature. Now, easy enough. Consider A. A can follow by a consonant. So we can have a AB case, but we cannot have a case where there's a consonant which follows by A. That is not allowed, right? You don't have a letter preceding A. So there is just one case for this. For each of the other, for E, I, O, and U, you will have one case of each of these types. For example, for E, you will have a case DE, which is a consonant followed by a vowel, as well as you will have a case EF, which is a vowel, that is E, followed by a consonant. So for each of the other letters, because they are not at any of the ends, A is at an extreme end, but none of the other vowels are at an extreme end. So for each of the other vowels, you will get two cases, which will, have a consecutive letter selected. So there are total of 9 cases out of these 25 cases which are unfavorable. So we're looking for the favorable outcomes, of course. So the answer will be 1 minus 9 by 25, which is 16 by 25. Or simply put, out of the 25 cases, 9 cases are not allowed, so 16 are allowed. So the answer is option B. Pretty straightforward question. This is the importance of unfavorable outcomes or complementary events in probability. If you understand this, it becomes a little simpler for these kind of questions to solve. I hope everything was understood for this particular question. First of all, when it comes to Bayes system, you have to understand one thing in the context of this question, and that is the last digit. So how many numbers will have a non-zero digit? So if you read this part, how many numbers will have a non-zero units digit in both these bases? Now, if you can understand this in a lot of different ways. I've explained this in our classes, but I'm not going into the details. You can check it out by base conversion or multiplicity, any which way you want to consider this. Uh, for a number, let's say n, to end with a 0 in base b, it should be that the number is divisible by this b. That is the basic idea. So if the number is divisible by b, it should end with a 0 in base b. You can have a correlation with base 10 as well. Any number which ends with a 0 in base 10 in the decimal system, the normal communication that we have in, that is a multiple of 10, right? So if it ends with a 0, it's a multiple of 10. Similarly, if it ends with a 0 in base 6, that is in the context of the question, then the number has to be divisible by 6. Similarly, if the number ends with a 0 in base 7, it has to be divisible by 7. But in this case, we are looking for how many of the numbers will have a non-zero unit digit. So for, simply put, we are looking for all the numbers n which are not multiples of 6 and not multiples of 7. This is basically what we are looking for. So it should not be a multiple of 6 and it should not be a multiple of 7 as well. So look at the range, by the way. So we are looking from 1 to 200 in decimal system. So that's the normal numbers. So from 1 to 200, we're looking for how many numbers are not multiples of 6 and not multiples of 7. So there are a lot of ways to do this. I'll basically use a set theory in the simple idea itself. So let us consider that this rectangle is indicating all the 200 numbers in our scope. So 1 to 200, that is. And the first circle is indicating all the multiples of 6. The second circle is indicating all the multiples of 7. Now, the first thing that we have to actually figure out, so the thing that we are looking for are not multiples of 6 and not multiples of 7. So that is anything outside the two circles, right? So this is what we are focusing on. So let me first figure out the multiples of 6 in this range, this circle, that is, how many numbers are that? So that's very simple to identify. So that's simply 200 by 6. Just consider the quotient out here. You can do this, reduce this to 100 by 3. So that is 33 something. So there will be 33 multiples of 6 from 1 to 100. Similarly, for those which are multiples of 7, that will be simply 200 by 7. Just take the quotient again. By the way, if you know the cyclicity of 7 in terms of 1 by 7 cycle, then 200 by 7 will be known to you, 28.57 something. So this is 28. There will be 28 multiples of 7. Just collect the quotient, that will give you the multiples. Let me write this properly. So you have 28 multiples of 7. And now, as set theory goes, just figure out the common region, multiples of 6 and 7. So multiples of 6 and 7 is multiples of 42 basically. So this is what we have to figure out. By the way, 200 by 42 is 100 by 21. I hope you can understand that 21 into 5 is 105. So this should be 4. So there are 4 multiples of 6 as well as 7. So if this is 4, this is 33, this should be 29. You can figure this out, but you know that this entire circle is 28 plus 29 is 57. So basically, you have 57 numbers in this region, 28 plus 29, or you can just figure this out and add all of them. And there are total of 200 numbers. So subtract this 57 from 200 to get the required answer, which will be 143, which are not multiples of 6 and 7, option C. So all you have to understand in this question is what is the significance of ending with a 0 in any base. I have discussed these things in our classes, couple of things actually. One is the last digit in any base and the leftmost digit in any base. These are the two things that one should understand, because in aptitude test, except for generic base conversion questions, which appears very seldom, but mostly the questions, the tricky questions that appear are in terms of the last digit and the leftmost digit. If you understand these two ideas, it's very simple to handle any base system question. But that's it from my end. I hope everything was understood. Thank you for joining in. Okay, so in this question, we are looking for the alphabetical arrangement of letters or the dictionary rank. Sometimes it's mentioned as. So just let's read the entire question once. So if all the words not necessarily meaningful, whatever, which can be formed using the letters of this word paise are written in dictionary order. Find the 84th word written. So we are looking for which word will be, 84th one in sequence. So if you're writing all the possible words, so there will be 120 possibilities, right? 5 factorial. No letter is repeating out here. So out of all the 120 words that we have written out, which will be the 84th one? Now, in these cases, just keep a logical viewpoint. Always, if you are not getting this mentally, then do write the letters in ascending order once, just for your reference. If you are not being able to do that mentally itself, my recommendation is always write it. I myself do it just to avoid silly mistakes. So just write all the letters that are in our concern in alphabetical order, and then carry on with the analysis. So first thing, we are looking for the starting letter. Now, in this case, the options are indicating the starting letter has to be P, but I'm showing you a generic approach in which you can always figure it out instead without even looking at the options. So let's think about all the words that starts with A. So if you fix a on the first place, so let's say this is the first position of the word, the remaining 4 letters, now we have to rearrange the letters of this word, right? So in this case, repetition of letters will not be allowed. So the remaining 4 letters can be arranged in these 4 spaces in 4 factorial ways. That's a total of 24 ways. Similarly, if I start with the E, then again you'll have 24 possibilities of arranging the remaining 4 letters in these 4 places, right? Same thing with I. You'll have another 24 ways of arranging the remaining 4 letters barring I. Now, consider this 24 plus 24 plus 24 is 72 words, right? So once you finish all the words that are starting with I, you have written a total of 72 words. Now, if you think about all the words starting with P, that will be another 24, isn't it? So 72 plus 24 is 96. That is exceeding what we are looking for. So we are looking for the 84th word, right? So effectively, now I hope you can understand that the options are not required. You should be able to identify this yourself, that the word that you're looking for should be in the range of those words that are starting with P. So let's focus on that part. Now, if I fix a P at the very beginning, so now I'm going to fix this completely because I know it has to start with P. What could be the next letter? That is the next thing you have to understand. Now, it could be starting with A, followed by a P, of course. After P, you could have a, you could have a E, and so on, right? So if I have a after the P, there are 3 positions left out, and obviously 3 letters for these. So that's another 3 factorial arrangement or 6 arrangement for these 3 positions. That is for E, I, and S for these 3 positions, right? So we can have a total of 6 words starting with PA. Now 72 plus 6 is 78, but we are looking for the 84. So we have to go a little bit forward. Now, one thing you should be able to identify at this stage very quickly, I hope you have already identified, that when you start with a PE, the all the words that you can form is 6 words, right? Now 72 plus 6 is actually equal to 84. So we are looking for the last word which starts with a PE. That will be the 84th word, isn't it? 72 plus 6 plus 6. So that is the 84th word we are looking for. So what will be the last word? So effectively, this is very logical in nature. These 3 letters should be in reverse alphabetical order. That is, if you think in alphabetical order, the first word among these 6 words will be in alphabetical order. So that will be something like we are starting with PE. So the letters left out are A, I, and S. So the first word will be A, I, S. But the last word using these 3 letters will be S, I, and A, isn't it? So just think about the reverse alphabetical order for those words which are starting with PE, with the remaining letters, of course. So just figure that out and you'll get the answer. The answer is PESIA, which will be the 6th word among these words, and that will be the 84th word in total. So PESIA is option C, and that is our answer to this problem. So that's it for this particular question. I hope everything was understood. All right. So whenever you have any kind of probability question in terms of arrangement of numbers with some constraints, so what you have to identify is what are the constraints and what is the flexibility that you have. So for example, in this question, we have these five numbers 1 to 5. So 1 to 5 is fixed, are arranged linearly in all possible ways. So the total arrangements or the total outcomes in this case will definitely be 120, right? So we have a total of five numbers which are arranged linearly. So that is 5 factorial or 120. Now we are looking for the probability that four numbers from left will be in descending order and the two numbers from right will also be in descending order. So let me indicate these numbers by letters as of now. So let's say these are the five numbers. I mean, A, B, C, D, E are occupied by some numbers. So from left, four positions are in descending order. And when we look at the two letters or the two numbers from the right, so from the right is E and then followed by D, that is the two numbers, that also has to be in descending order, right? So effectively what we are getting is A has to be greater than B, has to be greater than C, has to be greater than D. And from the right side, we have D is less than E. So this is what we have, right? So effectively, if you look at this thing, you should be able to identify quickly that D is basically the smallest of all the letters or all the numbers, right? Whichever number occupies this position D will be the smallest out of all the five, right? Because it is smaller than all of these three as well as smaller than E. So D has to be 1. So that is fixed, right? So in this case, D has to be 1. The only choice that we have is among this E, A, B, C. Now, for A, B, C, E, we have 2, 3, 4, and 5 left out, isn't it? So we have these four letters left out. But also one other thing you have to understand is that this A, B, and C are relatively in a fixed order. What I mean by that is whichever three numbers you pick up for ABC, for example, if you pick 2, 3, 4 for ABC, it has to be 4 for A, 3 for B, and C is 2. It has to be in this order, right? But it is not mandatory that I have to pick 2, 3, 4 for ABC or 3, 4, 5 for ABC. So there I have a choice, or in other words, I have a choice for E because there is no relative arrangement between E and ABC that is not been mentioned. So E is independent of ABC. E can be anything, right? So E has four different choices. So it can be picked up in 4C1, that is four ways. And once you do that, so for example, if you pick 2 for E, the ABC has to be 3, 4, 5. So once ABC is fixed to be 3, 4, 5, we already have the ordering with us, right? So A has to be 5, B has to be 4, and C has to be 3. Similarly, if I pick up 3 for E, we have 2, 4, and 5 to be allocated to ABC. Then again, A has to be 5, B has to be 4, and C has to be 2, right? Because this order has to maintain. So effectively, what we have is the only choice that we have is for E among four numbers, not five numbers, by the way. D is fixed to be 1. So E can be picked up from any of the four numbers, that is 2, 3, 4, 5. And once you pick that up, everything is arranged. So that is the favorable outcomes, right? So the favorable outcomes in this case is simply 4 because the only choice is for E out of four numbers from 2, 3, 4, 5. So the required probability will be 4 upon 120, which is 1 by 30, option A. So understand the constraint properly. So once you understand the constraint, there's nothing too much to do. I hope everything was understood for this question. Thank you for joining in.
Hopefully, you liked the solutions we provided for these questions. And if you did like it, do not forget to like the video and share, subscribe, and comment. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. In that case, you'll get notification as soon as we upload a new video. And if you want to check a bouquet of courses that we provide, so we have a huge variant of courses from customizability to full preparation. You can check our website www.mathoratory.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And have an enjoyable preparation ahead. Welcome to the Mathoratory family and have a good exam ahead.